All right, I believe we are live. Welcome once again to Media's live show. Just gonna share this around now. All right, sent a link there. All right, I think that should do it. Welcome to Media's live show, episode 23, a special Star Wars edition to the live show. Finally, after years and years, I finally have an excuse to talk at length about Star Wars again. Uh, I have a very long, complicated history with Star Wars. It's not actually all that complicated. It's just we'll get to that when we get to that. Star Wars. Just tweeting this out. So, big thing this week. I actually did a lot this week. I did a lot more like Jurassic World Evolution 3. I did a lot of editing on the next podcast. I'm about like 3/4 of the way through editing that. Been lining up some other stuff. And no episode of My Hero Academia came out. In fact, we're actually going to go ahead and start with that. The only other thing I watched besides the main topic of today is the new episode of My Hero Academia, and I'm going to just speak very briefly on this because not a whole lot happened. It's a Deku versus Shigaraki. We're it's kind of really refocusing in on that, focusing in on like what's actually at stake. I really like how Best Genius is like, you know what? It would actually be better for us if All for One just stayed in control of Shigaraki's body because All for One at least like wants to rule and therefore needs subjects to rule, whereas Shigaraki doesn't care. Shigaraki wants to just destroy everything. Which goes back to all the things I've said about Shigaraki and All for One and their dynamic before. Deku lost Danger Sense. He locked in his plan to fire One for All into Shigaraki's psyche in order to like break through his shell, his psychic shell, and reach the boy inside. And he's looking like a villain now. The Carnage Deku or Dark Deku. I think when this chapter first came out, everyone was referring to it as Carnage Deku because he's got like the claws and all the streams coming off of him with Black Whip. He looks like a monster. He looks like a villain, and it is peak fiction. This fight is only just getting started, though. It's not gonna be a like super long. I think this was episode 5. I think we have like 13 episodes in the season. So I'm expecting this to wrap up by like episode 7 or 8. Like, it's not going to be super long, especially with the way that they've been pacing things out past couple episodes. So that's literally the only other thing I really watched this week. Again, most of my time has been spent either editing or playing Jurassic World Evolution 3. I will do another like Jurassic World Evolution 3 stream. Probably after I do some of the challenges, and I also want to 100% the story. I'm missing like just 2 upgrades that I need like specific things to trigger for me to get them. It's very difficult. It's difficult because the game is so easy. One of those situations where it's really hard to actually like trigger these illnesses. All right. So, Star Wars Visions. I did not have time to rewatch the whole thing this week. Season 3 kind of dropped out of nowhere. Disney did nothing to market the show. I remember when season one came out, they marketed it heavily. Like everyone was talking about, like, oh my god, Star Wars anime shorts. And then season two came out. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like every animation fan was hyped for season two because it was like, oh my god, this is such a diverse collection of studios from all over the world are working on Star Wars, and one of them is Cartoon Saloon, one of my personal faves. Uh, but with season three, it's back to Japan. You know, it's just a couple animation studios in Japan. I think there's I want to say because Kinema Citrus got used a couple times. One, I think they had like three shorts. Two. No, they only had two shorts this go around. Everyone else, it looks like, only had one. Uh, but another nine shorts, so we have 27 shorts total. And Disney just did not do anything to like push this show again. I did not even know that it was out until like several days after it had dropped. It dropped like October, I think it was like 29th or something. I did not know about it until like 2 days ago. When I heard people talking about one of the shorts in particular that we'll talk to, because I watched them. I watched them all over the past 2 days, actually. I thought about them. I revisited some of my higher ranked shorts uh, just to see if those still hold up. And I put them all in a list. So we have a top 27 list for the Star Wars shorts, for the Star Wars Vision shorts. But before I get into the list itself, I gotta say, right off the bat, this is gonna get petty. Because I have a very particular taste when it comes to Star Wars. Like, there's a lot of Star Wars content I like. A lot of that content doesn't fit what I want Star Wars to be. And despite that, I still think it's good. But I hold Star Wars to this weird standard of following its own aesthetic identity. And that's going to be a persistent issue I have with a lot of these shorts. And we'll get into that as we go through the shorts themselves. Uh, Star Wars is, at the end of the day, a genre blend of sci-fi, fantasy, western, Arthurian Knights, Kurosawa samurai film, and some 70s hippie, liberal, like, politicizing. But it's supposed to be like this blend of Rome, the British Empire, Nazis, the feudal era samurais, King Arthur and his knights, Merlin, Siegfried. Like, it's supposed to be this mash of all the stuff with like Flash Gordon and Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress and Seven Samurai. I already mentioned Kurosawa films, but I wanted to cite a few specifically. And that's what made the idea of a Star Wars anime so appealing, is because so much of Star Wars was already based on classic Japanese cinema. George Lucas was a fan of Kurosawa's films, so it made that transition seem like a no-brainer. But as we'll see, like, it's not as simple as that. Because again, like, Star Wars is such a specific aesthetic. Like, there's nothing quite like Star Wars in the media landscape, and there never will be. And I think Star Wars should be strong enough to overcome a lack of marketing, but it's not anymore. And that is completely Disney's fault. It is Disney's fault for fucking up the main story with Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. It is Disney's fault for oversaturating the market with spin-off films and uh, turning Star Wars from this special event series that would come out once every 3 years, if that, into this annual slogfest where we were getting a film every year or two. It became just another franchise. It became just another franchise, and that is a shame. Like, regardless of the quality of the sequel trilogy and the two spin-offs, Rogue One and Solo, Star Wars should have never been released like that. And then those films, for the most part, sucked, and that's what killed the franchise. On top of the shovelware fucking TV shows that they keep just slinging out there, like Visions ends up getting lost in the shuffle, despite being it's by and large the best thing that has happened to Star Wars since the Disney buyout. But it gets lost in the shuffle because there's so many shows and so many of them fucking suck. Fucking Kenobi sucks. Ahsoka sucks. I haven't seen Andor, but I did not watch Andor because I didn't really care for Rogue One. I didn't really care for his character in Rogue One. That's why I never ended up watching Andor. Mandalorian Season 2 was meh. Mandalorian Season 3 was awful. Book of Boba Fett was awful. The way they did Thrawn, I already said Ahsoka sucked, but the way they did Thrawn was a fucking crime against humanity. Star Wars Rebels isn't very good for the most part. Whereas Clone Wars is like 70% at least decent, Rebels is like 70% kinda awful and 30% kinda decent. Whereas Clone Wars is the opposite. 70% of it's at least kinda decent and 30% of it is really bad. Rise of Skywalker is, to put this into perspective, I make a lot of comparisons between Star Wars and Ruby, because Ruby also has like a very specific aesthetic. It's also like this weird genre blend of a bunch of things that you don't think would go together but kind of work together anyway. Uh, and quality wise, Ruby is very much on par with like the Star Wars prequels most of the time. Like, it's actually like on par with like a Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones for most of its volumes. Ruby Volume 5 is by and far the worst of the volumes. Everyone agrees to that, because it's poorly paced, it's poorly structured. The villains kind of, a lot of the fights get off screened. It had a lot of production problems. So Volume 5 is by and far regarded as the worst Ruby volume. Ruby Volume 5 is better than Solo. It is better than Rise of Skywalker. It is not better than The Last Jedi. I would really love to say that it's better than The Last Jedi, but it's not. It's just not. I'm still more on the side of trying to defend Last Jedi than attack it. But if you like Ruby Volume 5 more than The Last Jedi, then I'm not going to argue with it. So, without further ado, I think it's time we actually got into the shorts themselves. I have a picture playlist here. I gotta pull my stream up here so I can keep an eye on chat. All right, have it pulled up. So then, so I have 27 shorts. Something's gotta be at the bottom, and sadly, that bottom is Tatooine Rhapsody. This is a short by Studio Colorado and directed by Taka Kimura. I'm gonna be looking these up as I go. I did look these up, once upon a time, but I want to keep this stuff fresh. So, Studio Colorado, they did a couple things that I've never watched, like Drifting Home, Penguin Highway. I remember hearing about when it came out in like 2018. That's the only thing that's popping up that I recognize. As for Taka Kimura, that's a very typical Japanese name. He worked on. He's not even the first person by that name that comes up. Anime. Taka Kimura anime. I might have worked at Ghibli, but I'm not even sure if that's the right guy. Yeah. Anyway, Tatooine Rhapsody is cringe. Um, it is just like a shitty version of K-On, but set in Star Wars. It would be different if. So there's two really big problems that I have with the artistic direction of the short. The first one, as you can see, it uses a chibi art style, which is just antithetical to what I want Star Wars to look like. And the second, more pressing issue is that it is a short about a band trying to play this really big gig, and the music sucks. Like that's just a big downside to this whole ordeal is that the music kind of sucks. The Star Wars is actually kind of known for its music. It is a space opera as well, and it's got a lot of classic film scores. The Star Wars title crawl is iconic. The Cantina song is iconic. Jedi Rocks from Return of the Jedi is, for better or worse, iconic. Duel of the Fates is one of John Williams' best scores. But like I said, this feels like someone watched a lot of K-On! Or a lot of I'm trying to think of other band based anime that came out before this. So I was gonna say like Bochi the Rock or Beck. Beck is another one that comes to mind. I only watched a couple episodes of Beck, so it's not something that's super fresh in my head ever. But that's a anime about a band that came out a while ago, long time ago, mid 2000s, I believe. But yeah, the voice acting isn't very good. This art style is honestly, I think this is the worst looking of the Star Wars Vision shorts, just as far as the aesthetic, the overall like this is the style we decided to pick. Like it's not awful, like it's not the worst thing ever. Like it at least stands out amongst the other Vision shorts, which is I guess important. Uh, Overarching problem with both season 1 and season 3, I think this might even be a bigger issue in season 3, is that it it's all anime, and even though each short does have like a slightly different art style, it is all still easily recognizable as anime, and they are all 2D animated shorts. And so it does turn into this kind of amorphous blob of animation sometimes. And we'll get more into that when we get into season 3, because I think season 3 does suffer a little bit more than that. Uh, anyway, next up is number 26 is To Be One. All right, so we gotta get into the other really big problem with Star Wars Visions. This is a big problem with season 1. This is not as big of an issue in season 3. So much of season 1 is just classic anime slash classic samurai film with a Star Wars coat of paint. And nowhere is that Star Wars coat of paint thinner than in here. This is just Astro Boy. I have a lot of respect for Astro Boy for what it built and what it led up to, and its place within like the medium of animation, especially like TV animation. And how groundbreaking it was for Japan, and it paved the way for anime in general. But it is not so near and dear to my heart that I can just be completely on board with a ripoff. This is a ripoff of Astro Boy. It's a reference or an homage, but again, like it's taking something that was really special for its time and doing a modern take on it in a way that is not special in any way. It's not good Star Wars. It's not even particularly good Astro Boy. And also the name to be one is kind of cringe. As T0B1 is the robot kid's name. And I'm just not okay with that pun. It's very forced. Like I said, it's quite cringe. But yeah, the biggest problem with this short is that it's just a ripoff of Astro Boy. It's and not even a particularly good one. It's not even a good rendition of Astro Boy. Like if you were to just have this as an episode of Astro Boy, like change the character designs to match Astro Boy and change the setting to match Astro Boy, wouldn't it be like top 10 renditions of Astro Boy? And that's why it's so low on the list. When there are other, uh, rip-offs, quote unquote, within the Star Wars Visions catalog, but those at least all do something to stand above what it is mimicking. Whereas this, it just forever in my mind will always just be in the shadow of something much, much more important. It'll actually be in the shadows of two things that are just much, much, much more important and much more endearing. Moving on. This is going to be my most controversial take. Number 25 is Black. This is the short that informed me that Vision Season 3 was out. This is our first time talking about Vision Season 3 today, as far as the shorts go. This is the first appearance of it on my list. Every animation fan is fucking gooning all over this fucking short. And I just do not care for it. I do not care for it. It insists upon itself. I've seen great animation applied to Star Wars. I've seen great esoteric animation applied to Star Wars. There is another short that is very high on my list that has animation that is just as weird and just as out there and just as bizarre. But you know what that short has that Black doesn't? A fucking point. Black does not have a point because Black does not have a character. It is just. There's a movie called Jacob's Ladder. Bit of a swerve here, but I'm going somewhere with this and it's not going to take long. There's a movie called Jacob's Ladder that is I don't remember much about it because I haven't watched it since I was way too young to be watching it. But overall, like basically, Jacob's Ladder is about a Vietnam War vet. He gets shot and goes through hell, basically, and the whole movie is like, oh, is this real? Is this a nightmare? Did he ever actually make it off of Vietnam? Or did he die? Did he die in depression later on? Like, what's real, what's not? And it has these very bizarre, very weird, like, nightmare sequences with just all this nightmarish imagery. That's what Black reminds me of. But again, Jacob's Ladder has a point. Because Jacob's Ladder has a character. Black does not. The only character that it's trying to follow is this nameless stormtrooper with the busted ass helmet. And I don't care. I don't care about some fucking nameless goddamn goon from Star Wars. I especially don't care when it's a fucking stormtrooper. all the pretty animation, all the great little visual details and creativity and stuff in the world cannot make up for a lack of a story or a lack of a character. Uh, if you have a character that I get engaged with, you are at least a 5 out of 10. If you don't have a character that I can engage with, you are nothing better than a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 is as high as I can go for the shorts. And I can't even go that high because with the complete and utter lack of visual cohesion in the shorts, because of how try hard it is being with its visuals, and with the lack of like shot continuity or focus or narrative or even like good music, the music in this kind of fucking sucks too. It gives me AI vibes. I would not be surprised if they used AI for parts of the short. Especially with there's a shot, and it's actually the first shot I remember seeing on Twitter before I even watched this, where like a TIE fighter like just pops in and splits into two, and then one like morphs into an X-wing. Like the popping in and out of existence and morphing of one thing to another with no rhyme or reason is a telltale sign of AI animation. Like that's something that a lot of the fake AI videos that surface around TikTok and Twitter and YouTube Shorts get called out on. Especially when it comes to like the stuff involving animals and animal behaviors, animals acting in a way animals never would act. Uh, Being a telltale sign. Like I'm not accusing David Productions. This was made by David Productions, by the way. I also forgot to mention 2B1 was Science Saru, and Science Saru is someone that I actually came around on. I did not like Science Saru for a long time, but then Dandadan came out and won me over. Um, this is made by David Productions, the same studio that I believe does JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I don't want to actually accuse them of using AI, especially since I've seen people on Twitter actually like take credit for this and be like, I worked on this and it took me this long. But the feel I got watching this gave me the same feeling as AI animation. It gave me the same feeling I got from that Corridor Crew video where they tried to make an AI anime. This is far and away the weakest link in season 3, in my opinion. Even though everyone is fucking goading over this for some reason, I don't get it. I don't get why this is so popular. I don't get why this is the short that everyone is fawning over. It's just not. It's just miserable in a not even engaging or interesting way. Anyway, number 24 on the list is The Pit. By This is from season 2. It's by Dart Shitajo, which is also a Japanese company. It's a Japanese animation studio. It's the only Japanese animated short from season 2. I wish they didn't have any, especially since this is the weakest link in season 2. Uh, I don't remember this one a whole lot. This is not one that I revisited. I do remember uh, it being kind of cool. I definitely love the way this looks. Like I actually dig this art style more than a lot of the other Vision Shorts art styles. Like even stuff that I have above it, I would put this above them visually. The main thing I remember about this is that all the characters are fucking stupid. That's the only thing I really remember about this and why I had it so low on my ranking is like it's just so needlessly cruel in a very stupid way. Especially with the way the Empire is portrayed here, where like they have them dig this pit for kyber crystals. I think they're kyber crystals if I remember correctly. Um, and then they just leave them there. and then when one escapes, they just kill him and throw him back in the pit, and then everyone kind of like climbs out and rebels, and it's just way too easy. Like I don't remember any of the characters or their motivations beyond like just wanting to escape from the pit. It's just not super interesting or super memorable. Again, this is a season 2 short, so I should remember it better than I remember season 1. It's not cringe though, because like I haven't revisited 2B1 or Tatooine Rhapsody recently either, but those I have a lot of negative memories on, whereas this I just don't have a whole lot of memories. Period. Uh, Next on the list is number 23, I Am Your Mother by Aardman Animation, the British animation studio, and directed by Magdalena Osinska. Um, I do like Aardman Animation. I certainly appreciate them, and again, similar to Astro Boy, actually, I appreciate the work that they've done in the medium and keeping stop motion alive. The Aardman and Leica are kind of the last two bastions of stop motion animation, which is an art form I do definitely appreciate. And again, like I certainly appreciate this. I have a lot more respect for it than I do other shorts that are above it. Because the biggest strength with season 2 overall is that it's not all fucking anime. It's not all Japanese. You have a lot more diverse selection of art styles and story styles and cultural nods in season 2 than you do in season 1 or season 3. Uh, it's just kind of a shame that this has to be kind of silly and cringe and not even particularly funny. It's very sweet though. Like I don't want to disparage this too much. Like I think this might even be underrated because I don't see anybody ever talking about this or the fact that like, oh my god, Aardman Animation did a Star Wars short. That's really cool. I love Chicken Run. I love Wallace and Gromit. And I do love Wallace and Gromit. Like, I love Aardman Animation. I love pretty much everything Aardman Animation has done, except this. This is actually probably my least favorite thing from this studio. And that's a shame because it should be my favorite. I think maybe if the conflict wasn't so cliche with the daughter and the mom's embarrassing, and the kid just wants to be like a cool kid who like does races and stuff, and her mom is just so overbearing and cringe, and she gets all the secondhand embarrassment or whatever. Like it's just I've seen it a billion times. Not interested. Certainly not interested in it getting a Star Wars coat of paint. Though at least the Star Wars coat of paint is a very very thick coat of paint. Uh, it manages to maintain Aardman's trademark like stop motion charm with the way people, they're a little pudgier, they're a little softer than say Leica. Like Leica, everyone is like really thin and with sharp angles and pointy. Aardman is very like soft. Everything in Aardman animation looks like it's made out of marshmallow, whereas everything by Leica looks like it's made out of wires and barbed wire. Uh, Next on the list is our second appearance by Science Saru. Second and I believe final appearance by Science Saru. I guess they were too busy with fucking Don to Don to come back for season 3. Akakiri. This is one that a lot of people like, and I just didn't. I didn't really get the appeal. Again, like it's anime, but at least it's a unique spin on anime. And that's something that I kind of do have to give it up to Science Saru for, especially compared to their other short, 2B1. Like, this looks so much better than 2B1, and it's so much more what Science Saru is famous for. Like this art style wise, like character style design wise, it doesn't look at all like Don to Don or even Devilman Crybaby, but the way the line work is drawn, the way the eyes are drawn, the way characters like move, it is very similar to what we saw in Devilman Crybaby and what we would later on see from the studio with Don to Don. Like this actually fits into that. Um, this is one of the many season one shorts that falls into the same trap of just looking like classic Japanese samurai fiction, but with a very thin coat of Star Wars paint. Uh, which that would be fine if like one or even two of the season one shorts fell into that trap, but like half of them fall into this trap. Half of the season one shorts are just classic samurai film with the laser swords. And what I mean by that is like like this character's this character's hat. This character's hat is very like traditional Japanese. Her uniform is very like imperial Japanese. Like it's very similar to a lot of other things that we see from not just this studio but just anime studios in general. And it makes Star Wars look less special. Uh, to reference classic Hank Hill meme, you're not making Star Wars better. You're making anime, or you're not making anime better. You're making Star Wars worse. That's how I feel with a lot of the weaker shorts and a lot of the weaker aesthetics that went into Star Wars Visions. Uh, so then carrying on, number 21 is going to be another controversial pick. And that's the twins. The one that they used in all the marketing for season one, the one that everyone pointed to being like, oh, this is going to be so fucking cool. And to be fair, this is the barrier between things that I didn't like and things that I like. Because I don't know if I like this or not. I don't know that I dislike it. I just know that Studio Trigger needs to have a leash. Studio Trigger is a very famous studio. I am actually a big fan of theirs. I love Little Witch Academia. And I tolerate a lot of their other shows, and I really enjoy Kill la Kill. This is a bridge too far. This, I think, is actually a bridge too far in the in the opposite direction. Whereas a lot of the, season one shorts, they're just samurai films with Star Wars coat of paint. This is just over the top shonen battle bullshit with a thin coat of Star Wars paint. Actually, a pretty heavy application of Star Wars paint because, like, the girl, she is very clearly a blend of Darth Vader and General Grievous. The boy looks fucking exactly like Luke Skywalker, like what I would expect an animated Luke Skywalker from A New Hope to look like. It's got X-Wings and TIE Fighters and Star Destroyers and lightsaber duels, and the lightsaber duel is really over the top and fantastical, but it's a little too much. It kind of ends up being visual noise. It's also hard for me to kind of get engaged with the conflict because they've apparently said that this is supposed to take place after Rise of Skywalker. And just no. Don't invoke that movie. You're not making this better. And you're not making that movie better. You're making the short worse by making it have to sit alongside that fucking awful movie. But I think that this should have had a little bit more, a little less action, a little more character, a little more like maybe build up, show the relationship that they had before they parted ways, before their paths uh, diverged. I think that would have been a major benefit or been beneficial to the short. But yeah, it's just too much. Like this isn't Star Wars to me. Like it's just someone slamming together some Star Wars figures. And that's really my biggest issue with it. But like, it's fun. It's dumb, but it's fun. Like, if you really enjoy this, I'm not gonna fault you for it. Like, I'm not gonna bitch about it like I kind of did with Black. Uh, and you know what? I'm gonna say it. I'd be fine with this getting a continuation. Like, I'd be fine if this got expanded out into a whole like mini series. Which that's another thing with season one of Visions, especially, is that I wonder how many of the studios were making their shorts with the idea like, oh man, I'm gonna use this to convince Disney to give me a blank check to make a whole Star Wars anime out of this, and only one of them worked out. We'll get to that very late in the list. Um, but yeah, now we're getting to the top 20, and these are ones that I do think are just solid. Solid, if not necessarily anything special. Yuko's Treasure. This is from season 3, so it's fresh in my mind. I actually just watched this earlier today because it's in the last third of season 3. It's very cute. It also uses kind of a chibi art style, but it saves that chibi art style for the kids. This gives me Toriyama vibes, and that is a good thing because it is it does invoke that like classic 80s anime. It looks like a classic Dragon Ball or what's the other one that just got the fucking remake earlier this year? Just got a remake, not Ranma. Although it does also look a bit like Ranma. Ranma is also from like that era. Oh, what's the other one? No, it's not Toriko. Uh, he's just got anime. No, it wouldn't be from this. Oh God, what was it? I'm blanking on it. I'm gonna get frustrated because no one's in the chat to tell me. Banana fish? What was banana fish? No, it wasn't banana fish. No, it wasn't. Again, I just looked at Toriko. It wasn't Toriko. Wasn't Dororo. Wasn't Dorada. I'm gonna look up 2025 anime. No, I don't want to freaking get recommendations. I want to find the show I am looking for. Freaking picturing it in my head. Kid has the black hair. It would help if I actually watched it. Help if I actually like gave it a chance and actually like sat down and watched it. Then I'd remember it. It's giving me recommendations based on what I've already looked up and watched. Seasonal anime. And go with like. So I don't think it was summer. I think it was a spring show. I think it came out in the spring of this year. What the fuck was it? Why am I completely blanking on its name? Classic 80s manga. The spiky hair kid who like jumps around, fights with like a bamboo sword, I think. I might have that detail wrong. Looking at the spring list now. What was it? What was it? Ain't gonna bother me. This is bothering me a lot. Found it. Yaiba. Yaiba. That's the show I was trying to think of. Yaiba. This looks like Yaiba. Uh, so it manages to like have that classic '80s like Yaiba and Dragon Ball, uh, without forsaking the Star Wars aesthetic. Uh, like I like the bad guys in this. I like the I think his name is supposed to be like Fox Ear. I like his little gremlin of a Twi'lek sidekick. Uh, I like the fact that the two main characters in this are boys. Star Wars is originally a boys franchise. Obviously, it always appealed to women. Obviously, there are always female fans. And I love strong female characters. I love not strong female characters in the derogatory, the Captain Marvel, Rey, Skywalker, Palpatine sense. Uh, but I like having female leads. I have a female deuteragonist in my own novels. I love female Jedi. I love Ayla Sakura. I like Shakti. I even came around to liking Ahsoka Tano for a while during Clone Wars, despite initially hating her. But a lot of the leads in Visions are women or young girls. Just Tatooine Rhapsody had a guy. 2B1 had a robot. Black didn't have a character. The Pit was mainly a girl. I Am Your Mother was mainly a girl. Akakiri had a guy and a girl lead. The Twins, the hero was the guy. The villain was a girl. Yuko's Treasure are both, boys. Then you have, within the 19 you have left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I need to look up one real quick. $14. So of the 19 shorts we still have to talk about, 14 of them have a female lead. On top of this being only of the 8 we've already talked about, being only like the second or third one that has a male lead. Oh, and then one of the other ones, Journey to the Dark Head, has a male and female lead. I counted that as having a male lead because it kind of had equal billing. But so many of the other shorts have female leads. Like, that's fine on its own in a vacuum, but nothing exists in a vacuum. So that's something like out of 27, something like 18 or 19 of them have a female lead. That is one-sided. So I actually really appreciate, even though he does look a bit like a girl, I like that Yuko is a boy. I like that he is a young boy. And I like that the other kid is also I can't remember the other kid's name because his name's not in the title. And I only watched this once. But yeah, this is a boys franchise. This is a story about boys going on an adventure, finding this treasure, fighting these bad guys. My biggest problem with this is actually the bear droid. He's literally just a bear droid, and that's not Star Wars. I'm sorry. Real animals should not be referenced in Star Wars media. Shouldn't have like, oh, this is a bird or a crocodile or a fish. Well, okay, fish is a broad enough term. You can have your fish. There's always a bigger fish. You can have that. But like a bear is something so much more specific than just fish or even just bird that it bothers me. It bothers me in a very short-sighted, petty way. Like I said at the outset, there's going to be some petty grievances with some of these shorts. And this is probably the pettiest one. Because again, I think the short is fine. It's not really anything special. It's not really anything like mind blowing or super engaging. Like I don't. They do kind of leave this open to where like, oh, maybe they could go on other adventures later on. I don't really want them to ever come back to this. Uh, but yeah, there's a reason why like it's at the bottom of my top 20. It's fine. Uh, Getting into number 19. Oh, did I talk about who Yuko's Treasure was made by? Oh, Yuko's Treasure is also by Kinema Citrus. This is not the last we'll be seeing of them. In fact, I need to. I haven't been looking them up all the time because I don't care. But for the ones that I think are special, I'm gonna look at that. That explains it. Kinema Citrus did Made in Abyss. Okay. I must have already known that because again I looked all these up, all the studios up, and had like notes on them for season one. And I tried to do the same in season two, and I was just coming up with a bunch of like nothing, a bunch of like, oh, they did a commercial for this brand I've never heard of because it only exists in the one country where the studio is from. There's a lot of that with season two. Yeah, Made in Abyss is dope. And Made in Abyss, despite being from the 2000s or 2010s, also has that like classic 80s art style. That's one of the big appeals for that. It's actually at least one other short in this bunch that reminded me of Made in Abyss. In fact, I think it might be. No, it's coming up soon, but it's not the next one. The next one, number 19, is The Spy Dancer by Studio La Coche, which is a French studio. This one is, again, it's fine. I don't remember a whole lot. I remember it had some kick-ass action scenes. And it's about a spy living as this. The what it's about is in the title, Spy Dancer. But they get wrapped up in this like spy thriller story, which I think is really neat. That's a unique spin for Star Wars to have. Like it makes sense. Because even in the original trilogy, they talk about like the Bothan spies and the Imperial spies and this and that and the other. So like a spy thriller is so perfectly already like kind of set up for Star Wars, and then we just don't have a whole lot. This is one of the very few spy thrillers we have in Star Wars, and that is neat. That is unique. It's different. I just don't remember anything about the characters. So I tried to be fair with this ranking, uh, because when I first watched season one, I kind of ranked them all. Then I thought about I actually rewatched season one a while back, like I'm talking like 2-3 years ago, and re-ranked them accordingly. Then season two came out, and I did the same. And then season three came out, and I did the same. And then I basically just combined those three lists, but not really because I had already previously combined my season one and season two list. I did that shortly after season two came out, and I did not change that. I did not change the order that I ended up putting them in after season two. All I did for this video, for this list, is I slotted in the season three shorts where I think they should go based on what I remember. So I am trying to be very fair, even if I'm not very descriptive of some of the stuff on the lower half of this list. Like I said, everything above the twins is good. I remember having super positive feelings about it. There are more good Star Wars Vision shorts than not. So moving on to number 18 is Ao Song by Studio Triggerfish from South Africa. I love the aesthetic here. It's not super Star Wars. I do kind of have to bitch about that because it would be unfair if I didn't. It would be unfair to other shorts if I didn't at least criticize this one for also not being very Star Wars. Uh, I appreciate that it has aliens as the leads. Uh, there's a few other shorts that do that, but for the most part, they are humans, human leads. Which again makes sense because Star Wars usually has human leads, but whatever. I also like that this is a new species of alien. Like we've never seen these guys before. That's so it's adding something. It's actually adding something new to Star Wars, which I always appreciate. Uh, South Africa, I don't know much about their animation industry, but if this is anything to go on, then it is in a very comfy place. I like that everything looks like a grandma's craft book. I like that it gives me Yoshi's Woolly World vibes. It also gives me Made in Abyss vibes. This is the other one that I was talking about earlier that looks, or at least like Yuko's treasure looks like Made in Abyss with the art style and the character design. This feels like Made in Abyss because of the way the geography and the physical journey that Al goes on. Those are the only notes I have on that right now. It's very comfy, very good. Um, Also very comfy and good is the next one on the list. Number 17 is Lop and Ocho. Uh, this short is a very popular one from season one. It is by Studio Geno. They previously had done. I want to make sure I got this right before I say anything. Bakano and Durarara is I think the thing that they are most famous for, and I can see it a little bit. Um, one complaint I have with a couple of these shorts is that I don't really get an idea of the studio's signature. Like, why did the studio get approached? That's one thing I will say positively about the twins and Akikiri. Akikiri is very Science Saru. The twins is very Studio Trigger. This, I'm not super familiar with Durarara, but this looks similar enough. It is yet another basic samurai type plot, but with a very thin coat of Star Wars paint. Like you can see it right here in the picture. This dude is literally just dressed like a shogun or like a traditional samurai character. The woman is dressed like a classic Japanese woman. And then you have the rabbit girl, which is also very Japanese, honestly. There's a lot of rabbits in Japanese folklore. But Lop and Ocho, this was another one that a lot of people wanted to see get a continuation, but I was just like, nah. It's fine. It's very cute. Lop and Ocho are very fun. I can't remember which one was which though. I think the rabbit is Lop and Ocho is the little girl who is not in this image. Yeah. Another. I can't really call it a complaint because if you want to make Star Wars, you could pick a lot worse eras than the Reign of the Empire. But there is a lot of Reign of the Empire shorts, and that it muddles up the timeline. I get that none of the visions are canon. I get that none of this is canon. So I'm a lot more okay with it than I otherwise would be. If they try to make it canon, it's like, oh wow, here's another like five fucking Jedi who somehow inexplicably escaped Order 66. When that's that's a very big problem I have with Disney era Star Wars. I think the Inquisition are lame. I think the Inquisitors are all lame without exception. All of them, and all the mediums, and all the editions of Star Wars, of the Star Wars IP where the Inquisitors appear. The Inquisitors fucking suck. And I hate them. I hate that they exist, and I hate that Disney has written, or rewritten rather, Star Wars in a way that justifies their existence. I don't. I think way too many fucking Jedi survived Order 66. I think the tragedy of Order 66 is that so few survived. Like, because you can't keep making excuses for it, too. Like, oh, Cal Kestis got on an escape pod, and his master, like, sacrificed himself to give him time to escape. And they were, on a ship in transit, so there weren't a whole lot of, like, places to run or places to go or places to watch out for. You just had to get to the escape pod and get out. Fine, sure, whatever. Ezra, he was a youngling. Sure. Well, actually, no, not Ezra. I'm thinking of other guy from Rebels, Kanan. No, he was a youngling too, and he managed to escape or whatever. Uh, you have like, but then you have characters like Seer in Jedi Fallen Order. What's her excuse? You have all these characters that just keep popping. They just keep fucking popping up. We're at a point where I think there's like 30 or 40 confirmed survivors of Order 66, which isn't a whole lot compared to the 2,000 something Jedi that were around before Order 66. But that's still way too many. Like, why didn't any of these guys like start or join the rebellion? Why did it have to be Luke? Why was Luke the only hope? Is it because he's so much more powerful than any of them? That would be fine, but I like it better when Luke was the last Jedi, or the only Jedi there for a while. Like, that's a big problem I have with Ahsoka Tano. Like, I never liked the fact that Dave Filoni said, oh, Anakin had a Padawan during the Clone Wars. Because that's never stated, it's never even implied. In fact, the exact opposite is implied multiple times throughout both Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Revenge of the Sith. How can you be on the council and not be a Jedi Master? That's a big part of his motivation in Revenge of the Sith. And then in A New Hope, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the Master. But then Dave Filoni was like, oh, he was actually a Jedi Master, and he had an apprentice named Ahsoka Tano, and she was hot and whatever. And they had this playful banter going on throughout the Clone Wars. It was like, okay, I hate it, but I will be okay with it if she, like, fucking dies during Order 66. That'd be tragic. No, have her die before Order 66. Have that be something that, like, pushes Anakin towards the dark side. No, the loss of his apprentice. Have that be something that weighs on his heart by the end of the Clone Wars. But nope, she survives. And she's still around even after, like, Return of the Jedi. Why she didn't help the Rebels at all in the original trilogy is, who knows. They didn't think of her yet, obviously that's the real reason. But that's not a satisfying in-universe reason. She shows up in Rebels a couple times, and they could have killed her there, but they didn't, because they just love the character, I guess. I don't. I have very big issues with that. That's not even important to Laba Nocho, because I don't even remember a Jedi showing up in the short. I might actually be wrong. There might have been a Jedi or a Jedi apprentice or something. But I'm just saying that, like, the reign of the Empire was so oppressive and so overwhelming and so dark because there were no Jedis around. There were no glimmers of light in this darkness. It just all sucked for everyone involved. For everyone who wasn't in the Imperial, like, core worlds, life sucked. And it's because the Jedi weren't around to, like, guide them or help them or give or protect them. But then when that all goes out the window, when you just keep bringing in more Jedi survivors. Number 16 is The Duel. This is another one that everyone fucking overhypes, and I do love the animation style of this. I love the deep blacks. I love the black and white with the sharp, like reds and blues of the lightsabers. But this is the biggest offender of just being a classic samurai film, a cliche samurai film, like a very cliched samurai film, but with laser swords instead of a katana. Even the way his lightsaber works, where it's like always on and he has to like sheath it like it's a regular sword, it's so dumb. Uh, this is also like all action, no plots. It's kind of whatever. I don't really care. It's supposed to take place in an alternate universe where all of Star Wars is more Japanese inspired, and at a time where like the Sith are a lot more prevalent, but also not, because there's bits in here that are very like Clone Wars and Galactic Civil War era coded. That's even more so with the sequel, which we'll get to. Yeah, I as you can tell now, I actually like the sequel a bit more. We'll get to that later. But the duel is by Kamikaze Doga. I can't remember what else they had done. Kamikaze Doga. I don't think they had done anything I'd seen. They did that Batman Ninja show that, or movie that kind of sucks. I think they're mostly known for something called Popu Tepiku. Popu Tepepi. Popu Tepipiku. I've seen these characters floating around the internet. Oh, they did Sandland as well, which is the last like Toriyama bit thing. Um, they worked on Sandland for Toriyama. That's neat. I'm glad that they found their success at least. It's a good animation studio. This is a good animation, a good fight. There's just not anything else to it. The Ronin is. I'll get to that when we get to Payback. Because I have a lot more to say about the duel and where it's kind of like stacks up within Star Wars canon, but I can't really do that without talking about the sequel that they released for season 3. Number 15 is In the Stars. Another this is CGI, but it's done in a very like rustic, almost like not Aardman inspired, because it's a lot more angular and chunky than or blocky than Aardman animation, but it's still a very unique spin. This is by a studio called Punk Robot from Chile. Um, you do have this like very Hispanic edge to it. A lot of Hispanic influences, which again, like, I'm totally fine with these studios taking their own country's culture and giving it a Star Wars coat of paint. My issue with season 1 is that so many of them did it, and it was all done in the exact same way. You know, there's only one Chilean studio, and all out of all these 27, there's only one from Chile. They only did one short out of these 27. So it's fine that this takes some like Chilean culture and gives it a Star Wars makeover. That's fine. I'm totally cool with that. I actually love that. We'll get to that. We'll get to more of those as we get higher and higher on the list. My issue with stuff like The Duel and with To Be One and Akakiri is that Japanese iconography is so much more ubiquitous. Like, Japanese iconography is so much more like popular and so much more prevalent in pop culture because of anime and because of samurai films from the 50s and 60s. But that's a different subject. I remember this one. I just remember this one being really neat. I don't remember exactly what happened. I remember the characters though. I do remember that they look gnarly. Again, it's similar to Ao Song, or same exact thing with Ao Song. I like that they are a species that we don't ever see, in Star Wars. It's adding something new. It's adding something fun and fresh and different in a way that still fits in with Star Wars. That is a very difficult task to achieve, but it is also kind of a prerequisite for getting higher up on my list. Number 14 is The Lost Ones. This is the first of 3 sequels we'll be talking about. This is a sequel to The Village Bride, and I feel like I can't really talk about this without talking about The Village Bride. Even though it is a completely different story, it is a completely different vibe, honestly. It just happens to have the same character and be done by the same studio, Kinema Citrus. I really enjoyed this, actually. The thing that made me not put it in my top 10, the thing that really dragged it down was the villain. I don't get it. I don't know what the fuck that was about. It was her master who had died, but not. Like, was it a clone? Was it a hologram? Was it an illusion? Was it a trick of some sort? This is supposed to take place during the reign of the Empire, and yet you have a Jedi who survived Order 66, hate that, and a Sith, maybe Inquisitor, but he doesn't have the Inquisitor getup or Inquisitor style lightsaber, which I actually prefer because Inquisitor lightsabers are lame. But I don't understand, like, what is he to the Empire? What is going on here? How is he alive? Why is he alive? What is the purpose of having him be the villain here? Why not just make it a generic Inquisitor? Why not just make it maybe even an Inquisitor we already know? Fucking make it Darth Vader. Make it to where she has to, like, dip out and actually, like, run. But the reason why this got so high up on my list is that even though this is a massive downgrade from The Village Bride, it cemented F as my favorite character in all of Visions. I love this character. I love her attitude. I love her vibe. She is exactly what I look for in a Jedi character. She's wise, she's intelligent, she is caring, but she is also cautious, and she struggles with her own temptations with the dark side and her own relationship. And that's, I think, what they were really going for with having it be her master at the end. Is like, oh, even he fell to the dark side, that means I could fall too. I need to, be constantly aware of that possible shortcoming of mine. I did rewatch The Village Bride today just to get a refresher while I was making this list and solidifying it. This girl fucking spits some soliloquies that I love. I kind of want a figure of this character. And I really liked her friends here. Ron, like, I remembered his name. I usually don't when I'm only half watching something for homework. But yeah, the villain thing is what really brought this down. If the villain was the villain made more sense, this would be in my top 10 for sure. Because, like, I didn't care that much for this character during The Village Bride, but this solidified it. Like, she's better here than she was in The Village Bride. She might... I know, again, she's not canon. This isn't canon. She doesn't actually exist in the Star Wars continuity. This is like an alt take on it. But if she was, I wouldn't be super sad about it. I wouldn't be super angry about it, because she might be my favorite Order 66 survivor outside of Yoda and Obi-Wan. Outside of the two that were established to have survived Order 66 even before Order 66 happened. Yeah, she's fun. She's a really cool, badass Jedi character. I love how fucking insane she is in this by the end. She already had, like, the robot legs from well before The Village Bride. But she like sacrifices both of those and also her arm in order to like clinch this W. She's completely cracked out of her mind, but also stoic and badass. Like I love it. I love Jedi's like her. More of these characters, please. Number 13 is the Elder. Our second of 3 Studio Trigger appearances, and this is the one that looks the least like Studio Trigger, which is kind of my biggest complaint about it. I have three. I have three very petty complaints about this that don't even really sound like complaints, but they are because I'm being very petty here. The first is that it doesn't look like Studio Trigger, which is such a weird criticism because I criticized the twins for looking too much like Studio Trigger. Being too over the top, being too, like, no leash, no holds barred. But I don't get an idea of, like, Studio Trigger's identity from the short. The only reason why I know Studio Trigger's identity is because I've watched Kill la Kill and Little Witch Academia and a bunch of their other shows. My second issue with this is that it is another samurai story with a very, very thin coat of Star Wars paint. And my third issue with this is actually kind of the same as my second issue, which is that I don't like the way lightsabers look in this. I don't like that they look like regular swords. Kind of is just like, why even bother? Why not just have them make lightsabers, or why even make the Star Wars at this point? It still wins me over though. Obviously, it's in my top half. Right? What's half 26, 13? It's barely my top half. It's barely in my top half because the way that it treats the light side and dark side, I think, might actually be the best of the bunch. There is a consistent... Star Wars has gray morality. Like, I am totally fine with that. But the Force is binary. There is a light side, and there is a dark side. The dark side is always tempting you. The dark side is very attractive, but the dark side is weaker. The dark side is a quick path to power that can rival any Jedi. But the light side has a much higher skill ceiling for it. I think this handles it the best. There's a lot of Star Wars media, including a lot of the Vision shorts, that go with like the gray Jedi philosophy, which the gray Jedi are not an actual thing. Like, oh, you need light and darkness in order to find true balance, and that's not actually how Star Wars works. That is how Taoism works, which is an Asian religion. So I get if Japanese studios are more into that thing. But that's not how the light side works. The light side is balance. It is this acknowledgement of the endless cycle of life and death and rebirth. The light side acknowledges that. The light side understands that. The light side respects that. The Sith are a perversion. The dark side is a perversion. It is a corruption. It is evil. It's not just dark. It is evil. That's what this short does right. That's what this short does right that a lot of the other shorts, including a couple that I have above it, get so horribly wrong. That's why this is so high on my list. That's why this is above the Twins and the Lost Ones, and why I'm actually tempted to put it above a couple of other ones. Like, I'll have to go and revisit these if I want to change my list. But just as an example, that's why I have this above the Duel. It's a big reason why I have this above the Duel, and a big reason why I have this above the Twins, and Akikiri is another one that, like, similar issues, similar strengths, but this, I think, just does a lot better job of portraying the Force in a correct way, because I think there is a correct way to portray the Force. which is exactly what I said before. The Force is binary. You can have a lot of wiggle room within that. You can have a lot of gray areas with the smugglers and the gangsters and the bounty hunters and the politicians, but they're playing a different game than the Jedi and Sith. Even though they exist in the same world and their conflicts overlap, the Force in its nature is a lot more binary than that. Which is why you can have things like Anakin instantly jumping to the dark side, because as soon as he gets tempted, as soon as he feeds into that temptation and takes that step towards the dark side, he becomes completely lost. Not completely, not 100%, but he loses himself in that darkness and doesn't get out because he doesn't really want out. Not until Luke Skywalker comes around. But yeah, like the Elder's a badass. The fight scene in this is badass. And again, like this is my favorite portrayal of the actual Sith in Star Wars Visions. Number 12 is The Smuggler, our third and final edition from Studio Trigger. This is the season 3 short. It just kind of ends. That's kind of my biggest complaint with this, is that it's another one that tries to set itself up to be a full series, but like I don't care enough to actually see it become a full series. It's fine on its own. The conclusion isn't all that great, because at the end, like, oh, we just spent all this time and all this effort to get off this planet, and now that we've met up with the rebellion, we're going right back. We're going right back to keep doing these smuggling runs with these different people. I love the old lady here. I love that she is an old lady. And she is like a former Jedi, but like a retired one. I almost kind of got the impression that she might have retired from the Jedi Order before Order 66, and that's why she survived. But no, that's not. I don't think that's actually the case. After she explains what happened. So she's yet another inexplicable survivor of Order 66. Not a fan. Does have a female lead, which I'm a fan, but again, there's too many. Too many of these have a female lead. I like the banter between her and the prince guy. They make a good team together. And I like that this does a good job at showing how far the Empire is willing to go for their control, and how expendable so many things are to them. And that's all stuff we already know just from the movies and some of the other like books and stuff that we've already gotten, and the video games that we've already played dozens of times. Like, we don't really need to see another version of that. But the reason why this is so high, and the reason why I did put this above the Elder, is because this is, I think, a perfect compromise. Like, this is the Goldilocks zone for Trigger. Like, it is undeniably Trigger, but it is not so Trigger that it becomes really stupid and annoying. It's not noxious the way that the twins were. That's really its greatest strength. The fight scene is whatever. I love how the Jedi woman has her lightsaber hidden inside her robot arm. That's a really neat touch. I like that. And again, like, the overall setup with like the princess stuff is very classic Japanese, but so much of this is undeniably Star Wars. Like, this is Star Wars. Now this is Star Wars. And I really appreciate that, because you would think more of the Star Wars Vision shorts would be just unapologetically Star Wars, but then so few of them actually are. That's all I gotta say about that. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 season 3 shorts in a row here in this chunk of the list. Next is The Duel Payback, the sequel to The Duel, a needless sequel to The Duel, but then again, I don't think The Duel needed to exist either. Uh, I don't know why people are complaining about this. The fight scene's way cooler than The Duel. The style is way cooler than The Duel. Like, what's the fucking studio's name again? Kamikaze Doga really polished this up a lot better. And this has, in my opinion, the best interpretation of force speed in any visual medium. Because, yes, Jedi's move very fast. They can. But that's not really what's going on a lot of times. They do move superhumanly fast, but they're not like the Flash or like Superman or like Naruto characters where they basically just teleport. No, what Jedi and Sith actually do is they play mind games. This is why like being strong with the Force is more important than being skilled with a lightsaber, because yes, being skilled with the lightsaber helps you like get that muscle memory and know like about this good stances and blows and counter blows, and gives you like more things to like kind of work with and throw your enemy off. If you have more than one fighting style, then they have to have a lot more that they have to adapt to. But the real duel in a lightsaber duel, and this is something that is explained a lot in the books, but isn't portrayed super well in the movies, and it is not portrayed at all in a lot of the other animation stuff, which is that like every Jedi and Sith, every Force-sensitive duelist is trying to hide their actions from their opponent. They're trying to cloud their vision. They're trying to cloud the enemy's vision while also trying to figure out what the enemy is trying to cloud in their vision. It's this tit for tat, back and forth mental mind game when two Force sensitive people are clashing. Because you need to be able to predict your opponent in order to survive against a Force sensitive person, and you need to be able to hide your own movements if you want to avoid being predicted. And this is why normal ass human type people like the Mandalorians are so dangerous to Jedi, because Mandalorians have the mental fortitude just naturally to block Jedi out so that a Jedi cannot predict their movements. That's why you can have it's a meme at this point, but there is like an in-universe explanation for it. There's the scene in Attack of the Clones where Jango Fett guns down that Jedi Master, and in the bonus material, like the books and stuff, it's explained that that Jedi Master was a master of Soresu, Form 3 lightsaber combat, which is designed specifically to deal with blaster bolts. And yet he got gunned down, which is like a boom, 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 boom. And it's because when he tried to like feel Jango Fett out, he wasn't able to see. Like he could not actually predict where Jango Fett was shooting, so he couldn't block the blaster bolts. He had to like just react in real time to it, and that's not how Jedi deal with blaster bolts. They deal with blaster bolts by actually like predicting and glimpsing the future by reading their opponent's minds and stuff, or just knowing how droids are programmed and if it's a droid, and acting accordingly. This is why, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi was specifically sent out to fight General Grievous. General Grievous also has that mental fortitude to block people out. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the foremost master of defensive lightsaber combat. Obi-Wan Kenobi, even though he's not as powerful as Mace Windu or Yoda, and in terms of like just raw force power, he's not even as strong as Anakin, and yet he was selected to go against General Grievous, because against someone like General Grievous, the power you have in the Force does not matter. General Grievous is too mentally fortified. He is too skilled to have Jedi mind tricks and stuff and that Jedi psychic battle bullshit affect him. You have to like actually be faster. You have to actually be more skilled than him. You have to actually have what it takes to take on all four of his lightsabers at once. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is the only Jedi Master of the Clone Wars era who can handle that. Like, the only way Mace Windu could defeat General Grievous is if he just, like, fucking crushes him. Same thing with Yoda. Like, the only way Yoda can actually fight General Grievous is if Yoda just, like, picks him up, manages to pick him up and just crush him with the Force. Because they don't have the saber, they don't have the raw saber skill to deal with someone like that. And the other Jedi Masters definitely don't. At least that's how it is in the book. That is the explanation given in the book. Of course, with Clone Wars and all of the things that I don't like about Clone Wars, they decided to completely forego the original Jenny Tartakovsky and book version of Grievous in favor of this fucking comical joke who that can barely hold his own against a Padawan. I don't like that. I don't like that interpretation of Grievous. I think it is lame, and it makes him lame, and it makes everyone else lame by comparison. Anyway, this short gets that right, because you see, like, the after images. You see, like, the fades and feints as this Jedi Grand Master is trying to deal with this former Sith. This also cemented the Ronin as a better character than I thought he was. Like, he's kind of gray Jedi, which, again, like I said with the Elder, like, I'm not a fan of that. But, like, this Jedi Grandmaster is very much falling to the dark side. He is so blinded by his own payback, his retribution, that he is becoming more of a dark side user than the Ronin himself, even though the Ronin is a literal former Sith. Another minor complaint I have about this short, though, is that there's Imperial walkers for some reason. I always assumed that, like, if this takes place in continuity, it would be long before the Old Republic, like during the great, like, Sith Wars that happened all the time during the days of the Old Republic. But no, it apparently takes place at some nebulous points after Rise of Skywalker again, I guess, maybe. Again, they said it's actually just an alternate timeline, so it's just an aesthetic choice, but it's an aesthetic choice I don't like. But I do like the style. I love the duel itself. I think the fight scene in this is better than the one from the OG, which is why I have it above it. Now, cracking my top 10 is The Bounty Hunters. This is by Wit Studio, the same guys who brought us Attack on Titan seasons 1 through 3. So yet another one that takes place during. No, it's yet another one that has a female lead. It's not an actual complaint, like I said, but it's weird that so many of these are female led. And so few are led by men or boys. This takes place, like, in a nebulous time before, the Phantom Menace, which I like. I wish more of these shorts took place in the before times. And yeah, it's about a bounty hunter. She's got a droid who's like a medical droid who has, like, assassin droid programming, and it's kind of funny. Too bad his voice actor kind of sucks. That's one of my complaints. I couldn't find, like, an accurate cast listing, but I swear to God, the bad guy in this, Jinsim, he sounds like fucking Ironwood from Ruby. Like, I was convinced that it was the same voice actor, Jason Rose, but it's apparently not. But yeah, it's fun. It's a plot that you can kind of see coming from a mile away. Bounty hunter gets a mission to bring some people in. Turns out that the people are like freedom fighters fighting against oppression, and that the dude's actually a dick. And the bounty hunter has a heart of gold because that's supposed to be like a special thing, but apparently every fucking bounty hunter is the same. So she ends up fighting against it. I like the droidica. So I was like, it takes place before Phantom Menace because I don't think there's any mention of the Empire or even, like, the Clone Wars, but there is a droidica, like a giant destroyer droid that he can, like, pilot like a mech, that's a fun idea. This is the only season 3 short that isn't a sequel that I would like to see a continuation of. Like I would like to see this bounty hunter continue to go on these cowboy bebop ass missions where she has to keep giving up her big payday in order to follow her conscience, and she's like blaming this Jedi, this nameless Jedi, for like sparing her life and putting her on this pathway. She's like, I'm gonna find that Jedi. I'm gonna make her pay for making me a good person and for giving me the second lease on life. That's funny. That's a funny character quirk. How dare you make me a good person? How dare you make me grow a conscience? Uh, you fucking shithead. Uh, moving on to number 9, Bird of Paradise. This is another season 3 short from Polygon Pictures, who I've never heard of before. What are they? What have they done? So high up, I should probably find out what they've done. Oh, they did that Godzilla animated movie series that I did not watch, but uh, was got a lot of praise, got a lot of fans, a lot of fans. Uh, Not necessarily me. What else? What is this? They worked on Pingu in the City. Huh? Would have never guessed. And looking at their list now, like I don't recognize anything else other than the Godzilla movies they worked on. They should get more work because I really like this art style. It's very unique. Like it's different from any of the other shorts, at least in season 3. Like it doesn't look like any other anime I've seen. And it uses CGI, but it uses CGI very well, very smart. It actually looks more like something that I would expect from season 2 of Visions rather than something from season 1 or 3. The lesson learned here is a very simple lesson. Like it's spelled out very early on in the beginning of the shorts. But yeah, it's this Jedi Padawan. Her and her master fight this like Sith acolyte. She gets her eye slashed out and then has to like navigate her way through this forest while being blind and so fearful and so consumed by the possibility of her dying alone down there that she doesn't do the obvious thing and let the Force guide her. Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Act on instinct. It's almost like that was the first lesson that Ben Kenobi taught Luke when he started exploring the Force. But yeah, we gotta have a whole traumatic experience for this character to learn the same thing that we learned halfway through A New Hope. But this is very creative. This is one of the shorts that kind of primed me to not give a shit about black. Because this is another one that's very creative and very esoteric. Has all this weird dreamlike imagery with the titular bird of paradise, which is kind of like a dragon, and you got the frogman, and you have this like really cool rendition of like what it's like to be blind and having to literally feel your way around and imagine what the terrain actually looks like based on touch and sound and how like it starts to open up and brighten up more and more as she taps more into the force and gets more confidence and conquers her fear and conquers her dark side. Like she struggles with that throughout the short, struggles to conquer that. And not only does it have all these like really amazing visuals in this very creative direction, it also has like an actual character that you follow while doing that, which Black didn't. Sorry, I keep dunking on Black, but fuck, I hate that short. Like I'm actually, as I talk more and more about some of these other shorts, I'm kind of tempted to lower Black on my list instead of keeping it where it's at. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, number 8 on the list is The Ninth Jedi: Child of Hope, the sequel to The Ninth Jedi. This just wanna double check where to go. This is my favorite short from Vision Season 3. So it is the last stretch. Most of Season 3 ended up being in the all right next to each other because you had the Smuggler, Dual Payback, Bounty Hunters, Bird of Paradise, The Ninth Jedi, Child of Hope. That's 5 of the 9 shorts in Star Wars Visions, all right next to each other in the overall ranking. Uh, and I have one Season 3 short above this. This is the one that hit me in the feels the most, though. I love this character. Uh, my biggest, I can't really talk about this without really spoiling some of my feelings for the Ninth Jedi. Um, the Ninth Jedi was one of the big standouts from season 1, and that is the one that was like the most primed for a continuation. Like that's the one. This is by Kinema Citrus, uh, who also did. No, wait, hold on. I think I wrote this on the wrong line. No, Production IG. Yeah, sorry, I did write that on the wrong line. So this is by Production IG, who had also done. They're very famous. I want to make sure I got this right. Yeah, they did like Blood the Last Vampire, Ghost in the Shell back in the 90s, Psychopaths, Haikyuu. They also did like video games and stuff. They're a very popular company. They really wanted this to be a series, and you could tell from the original Ninth Jedi short. And that did get announced earlier this year. I think like back in April or May. I think it had to have been May because I think they did it for Star Wars Day. They announced that the Ninth Jedi is getting a full blown miniseries in 2026, and this is like a kind of to hold us over until then. Uh, my biggest issue with this short is that it didn't really do anything to scratch that itch. Kara is adorable. She is a great character. This setting is great. I love this version of Star Wars. I love this nebulous time period that doesn't actually exist in canon but should, where like the Sith are out in the open. They're an army. They've all but exterminated the Jedi. There's only a few of them left, and they're all having to like kind of band together. And Kara is like the ninth Jedi who is key to reestablishing the Jedi Order, but she struggles. She has her own insecurities. She doesn't feel like she should have ever been part of this. She just wants to save her dad, who is a lightsaber smith. Uh, Even though it's supposed to be that like Jedi make their own lightsabers. Maybe he makes all the practice lightsabers. I don't know. Maybe he's like a lightsaber. No, it doesn't really make sense. But it does within its own continuity. I love her relationship with this little robot guy that she runs into in this short. I love that she struggles. I love that she has her own doubts, but that she still does the right thing at the end. And I love that she takes the L. I love that she has to actually like run away, and that this little droid guy has to sacrifice himself to uh, blow up his own ship in order to like use that as a signal to her friends that to find her. It's very heartwarming, very enduring, very gorgeous, uh, and I want more of this. I need more of this. Like the longer I have to wait for an actual conclusion to the Ninth Jedi storyline, the more I end up not liking the Ninth Jedi uh, by association of it not having an actual conclusion. Uh, Obviously, I have the Ninth Jedi above this, uh, and that's mostly because like I think Ninth Jedi works better as a pilot than this does a second episode. Like I still love this. Like I still like this hit me in the feels. This is the most emotional I got throughout Vision season 3. And I need we need more. We deserve more. We deserve actual good Star Wars content. We've been so starved for it for so long now. Like, yeah, I heard Andor's great, but Andor isn't what I want from Star Wars. Why I haven't watched it. I want more stuff like this. Anyway, moving on. Number 7 is The Bandits of Golak. This is by 88 Pictures, which is an Indian studio. This is another one that uses CGI, and this looks the most like Clone Wars. Like this looks like it would fit into Clone Wars. It's another one that takes place during Reign of the Empire. At least the force sensitive person in this is someone who like wasn't ever part of the Jedi Order, and that's why they survived Order 66. At least that's what I remember. Um, but it's just a really solid story. I'm just going over these notes. I didn't revisit this one, so these are like years old notes, and who knows what older media was saying or younger that my younger self was trying to allude to with some of these notes. Badass action. Old lady is cool. Uh, I really like the dynamic between the two characters, the two mains, the siblings, and they're kind of on the run, and you got the titular bandits who are hounding them, and the mystery, and there's this connection with the parents there. Uh, Sorry, I don't remember as much about this one as I did some of the other ones from season 2. Uh, so gonna go ahead and move on to number 6. My favorite short from Vision season 3, The Song of Four Wings. Uh, this chick is super cute and she is waifu. Like maybe even more so than F. Because F is like stoic, cool, and badass. This chick is super fun and warm and has a badass power, like X-Wing inspired power suit that is also her astromech droid. Like it's so Star Wars, but so like different. I love the setting. I love the mine. I like that it's not a kyber crystal mine. I like that it is something different that is also like canon to Star Wars. Like it's Tabana gas or something. It's the stuff that no, it's in this it's the fucking ship from Solo, the coaxium, the hyper fuel is what the Empire's mining. I like that she is a badass without being force sensitive. I like that. I like the use of the Imperial walkers here. I like the use of. I think it's like a sandcrawler in this that for inexplicable reasons. I like the little alien buddy. Um, the astromech droid is pretty unique looking. And again, like I don't know what she's doing out in the fucking frozen tundra with no sleeves, but she fucking rocks that look. Uh, she's a waifu for sure. And this is made by Project Studio Q. I need to look up what else they've done because this is their first foray into Star Wars. So let's see if I should be on the lookout for anything else from them. Project Studio Q. Okay, they did the Eureka 7 movie, which wasn't very good. They did Evangelion 3.0, which I didn't watch. They did Lazarus, which I did not hear good things about. They worked on Darling in the Franxx. That fits. That looks. This does look a bit like Darling in the Franxx with the way some of the characters and the tech is drawn. Very polished. That's probably actually my biggest complaint about this is everything just looks kind of squeaky clean. Like a big part of the Star Wars aesthetic is that everything's supposed to be looking dirty and dingy and ran down. Like it's like it could just crap out on you at any time. They also did a little bit of work on the twins. Like that was mostly Studio Trigger. I'm literally just reading this off of the fucking website I pulled up. Uh, and I've been kind of beating around the bush on this one. Their biggest claim to fame is working on one of the episodes for the newest Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam GQ Quacks. I think is how High Powered said it's pronounced. But yeah, they haven't really done any major work. They've kind of been a type of studio that people outsource other things to, and hopefully this puts them more on the map and they get like an actual big series to themselves. I wouldn't want this to have a continuation. This is one of the ones that like leave this as it is. It's fine. It's awesome. It's great as a short. It's perfect. Don't fuck with it. But at the same time, I do love this character, and I would like to see her in more things. So I'm a little conflicted on that. Put her in a. No, what? So the same fucking time period, have her team up with F. I know it's a completely different anime studio, and I don't think either Project Studio Q or Kinema Citrus would be cool with that, and it is different art styles, so it wouldn't really fit. But like, man, she know what it is. She's a redhead. That's what it is. That's what this is about. She is a hot redhead waifu in a Star Wars short. My greatest weakness. Moving on to number 5. Surprised this is this low too. It's the Ninth Jedi from Project or Production IG, the original Ninth Jedi, the pilot to that series that please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't suck. I fucking love this short. I love this character. I love the conflict here. I love the bad guy. I love the other Jedi, even though they don't get a whole lot of screen time. I love the desperation here with how just powerful the Sith seem to be, but how enduring the light side seems to be as well. It's fucking just dope and badass and great, and we need more of this. Like, that's the biggest complaint with this, is that it ends without any real resolution. And like I said before, Child of Hope did not really scratch that itch the way it needed to for me to really be satisfied with this. If the Ninth Jedi series comes out and it is fucking peak, this might shoot up to number 1. Because it'll have a conclusion by that point. Can't fucking wait. Can't wait for that to come out. Can't wait to talk about it with y'all. But yeah, like I fucking love Kara. She's one of my favorites. She's probably my second favorite out of all the Visions cast. Like it's her and F. Her and F are just the best. And then what's her name? Kurane, I think is how they pronounce it, but Kurane would be number 3 on my list of favorite Visions characters. Next up, number 4 is Journey to the Dark Head. This my biggest complaint with this is by Studio Mir, which is a South Korean studio. It's very anime, but it's at least South Korean, so it's a little more forgivable. It's certainly more than the Pit. Which granted, the Pit wasn't all that bad either, even though it's like my 4th least favorite. of the 27. Um, but like I wanted more not anime I didn't want any anime period in season 2 because we had 9 straight episodes of just Japan animation. Uh, and then we should have had 9 straight episodes of literally anything but. And yes, this is not Japan, it's South Korea, so it's different. It's fine. Uh, but it's not different enough to where I can say it's something truly special. But what does make it truly special is that this is fucking badass. Uh, and it's my biggest actual legitimate issue with this is that it also kind of like does the whole gray force thing with the balance and stuff. But uh, I like that the mythology with like the dark head and that there's the statue that is like dictates the flow of the galaxy, and it's got like a light side and a dark side, but it's all actually one thing. You can't really destroy one without the other. Again, like the light side is itself balanced. Like the light side is, the Taoist balance, light and dark stuff. Like the dark side is evil. Like the dark side isn't just death or bad things happening. It is actual evil. It is corruption. So I completely disagree with the Dark Head on that. Uh, but like the struggle and how like in order to destroy the Dark Head, you have to, or within his attempt, he does fall a little bit to the dark side. The fight here is really great, really creative, really great setting. I need to revisit this to kind of remember because I don't remember exactly how it ends, other than them kind of like leaving things alone and being like, this doesn't actually affect anything. So moving on to the bronze medalist, the Village Bride. F's introduction. She is great. This is exactly what I want Star Wars to be more of, especially with the Jedi. Like, I think the Jedi should be wandering warrior monks. Like, they could have their temple on Coruscant that they go to every now and then, but I think that the Jedi are better when they are wandering and going on their own journeys, and being like warriors and prophets and protectors of the peace and protectors of the people who are kind of outside of the Republic's reach. These people who aren't from these prosperous planets like Alderaan and Kuwait and uh, Coruscant, obviously. Like they go to these outer and mid-rim planets where there isn't a strong government presence, and they do what they can to help. Uh, this is during reign of the Empire, but the Empire is not really present here. It's a bunch of pirates who stole a bunch of decommissioned battle droids and reprogrammed them to serve as their army. F is struggling with, wanting to do the right thing while also like remaining hidden because the Jedi are being hunted down and exterminated. And we get a little bit more of this in the sequel, The Lost Ones, where like the Imperial propaganda against the Jedi is in full swing. They have been completely blamed for the overthrowing of the Republic, and F struggles with that because her master struggled with that a little bit. Uh, but she still does the right thing. She's such a fucking badass. She's cool. She spits soliloquies like it's nobody's business. And like I said, like this is what the Jedi should be. And my interpretation of that comes from, again, like the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, where it is directly pointed out that this is the way the Jedi were before and haven't been in a long time. And because they haven't been like that in a long time, that's what makes them easy to blind and corrupt and twist into this war power during the Clone Wars. And Palpatine fucking plays the entire Jedi Order like a goddamn fiddle, because they've compromised themselves time and time and time and time again and haven't gone back to basics. That's what Qui-Gon was warning the council about. That's why Qui-Gon never sat on the council, because Qui-Gon was like a true Jedi, like he was true old school. This is what the Jedi should be like. We should be there on these planets like Tatooine, like Kashyyyk, like whatever planet this is, and we should be like helping people where we can. Not trying to like protect the whole galaxy or save the world, just whatever's within reach. Everything that's within reach. And we should expand that by going on these journeys and learning more about the galaxy and learning, embracing these other cultures, embracing these other races, embracing these other planets, and forming bonds of camaraderie with them, while also like maintaining our own devotion to the light and to purity and to goodness and to balance this balance of life and death that is the light side of the force. Like, that's what I love about the Jedi so much, and that's what I love about some of the later books with Luke Skywalker and the expanded universe and the old Republic stuff. And that's what I love about F. F is a lot like honestly, in my opinion, a better version of Qui-Gon. Mostly because she's not an idiot like Qui-Gon kind of is throughout Phantom Menace. Like, Qui-Gon takes some very unnecessary risks, and it just kind of works out. Except it doesn't, because the fucking Vader. Um, but yeah, like this has my favorite interpretation of the Jedi out of all the Visions, and it's also just a really solid story that stands on its own and is perfect and perfectly paced, perfectly executed. It utilizes its time. Honestly, it's got the best use of its limited time out of all the Vision shorts. Certainly the most out of season one. This is my favorite season one short. The other two that I have above this are both from season two. This does stand like just heads and shoulders above. Like, there's a pretty big quality gap between my fourth pick and my third pick, honestly. Like, between Journey to the Dark Head and Village Bride, there is a notable gap in quality. This looks perfect. Every single frame is perfectly done. Every single movement is perfectly done. The music is perfectly done. Everything is so perfectly done. There's just two shorts that I think are just as good, but maybe a little more creative and a little more fresh. Because again, this is very anime. Still, at the end of the day, like at the end of the day, it does tell a very typical story within Japanese like folkloric traditions. Uh, Number two is Sith. This is another one like the Bird of Paradise, where it's very creative, very esoteric with its imagery, super detailed. It gives me Spider Verse vibes, but I actually kind of like it here more than in, Into the Spider Verse. But that's what this reminds me of. It is by El Giri, which is a Spanish studio. We don't see them in a lot of the cultural discussions. A lot of Hispanic stuff is kind of dominated by like Mexico and not by the original Espanol, España. But I like that this is a great twist on a typical Star Wars plot. Where like a typical Star Wars plot is you got a Jedi who deals and struggles with the darkness. This is about a Sith who is struggling with their own inner goodness, and ends up doing the right thing and coming around to the light. But which is why she ends up becoming a former Sith. But the use of splotches with the white and black to kind of symbolize where her headspace is at and her journey towards the light is really well done. It's really creative. Hats off to Rodrigo Blas. I hope I pronounced that right, for directing this, and also to the whoever did the writing. Like, again, it's perfect. No other notes. I just have less to say about it than the Village Bride, because uh, I think F is a better character than this. So I don't even think she has a name. But yeah, I just ended up being more impressed with this because I haven't seen this type of animation done to Star Wars before, and I haven't really seen it since because this is the only Vision short that looks like this. So it's got that unique aspect to it. But speaking of unique, uh, by process of elimination, you probably already know what my number one spot is. So number one is Screecher's Reach from season 2 by Cartoon Saloon, the Irish animation studio. That's so near and dear to my heart. Cartoon Saloon, they also did Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea, as well as Wolfwalkers, which are three of my favorite animated movies of all time. They also did The Breadwinner, which is really good, just not one of my personal favorites. This is a classic Irish fairy tale about the Banshee, but done in a Star Wars way. And it is very Star Wars while also maintaining that Irish cultural identity as well. Like, it is a perfect blend of the Irish folktale with Star Wars. And when I first watched season 2, I actually kind of downgraded this. I actually had both Sith and Journey to the Dark Head above this. And as I revisited it and thought more about it, I realized that it's because I was holding Cartoon Saloon to a higher standard. And it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to Cartoon Saloon to hold this short to the standard of Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea, but not hold the other shorts up to that same standard. Uh, the animation isn't great all the time. It's very appealing looking. Like, I love the art style. It is very Cartoon Saloon. Uh, but the Cartoon Saloon isn't known for their like quality as far as the fluidity of the animation and how well it flows together. Like, it tends to like miss some frames. Like, it tends to go kind of flip booky in some spots. Like 60s era Disney, but it's even weaker than that in the animation department. But the story here and how this is a fucking nightmare. This is a horror story. Like, this is Star Wars going horror, even more so than Akakiri or I'd say this terrified me more than Black, but that's because I actually gave a shit about this and not about Black. So whatever. Uh, I will forever find an excuse to dunk on Black because I don't understand why people like that short. Um, but then the twist at the end that this was all a test for the Sith, and that this little girl is being groomed into becoming a Sith Lord, and that this was a test for her, and that her apparently like, her mom was a Sith and stuff. Like, that's such a great twist, and her like forsaking all of her friends at the end and going like it's a dark, dark ending to an otherwise kind of like this is whimsical as fuck looking, but it has that dark edge to it because it is about the Sith and about like the dark side and how tempting and attractive that could be, especially to someone who has suffered so much as like a child slave and stuff. Oh man, almost like the main antagonist and all of the most famous antagonist of all of Star Wars was also a Sith Lord who was originally a child slave. I'm smiling so much that it's hurting me. This is great. It's the best out of Visions, and it's not particularly close, honestly. Like, now that I've had more time to think about it, like, this is just so incredible. And once again, it's one that like I don't really want a continuation of this. It's perfect the way it is. Don't fuck it up. And unlike F, the character isn't like good enough to where I want to see more of them. Like, I think their story ended right where it needed to, right where it needed to for a maximum emotional gut punchery. But that's actually it. We went for almost 2 hours there. That's good. That's good. That's gonna do it for me today. Next week, something different. possibly.